Welcome to the Eagles off-season coverage with your host, Pablo Gary. Let's get into today's video.
Kick it and go. Kick it and go. Spit on, spin move, in zone, go. Scout for sideline, a touchdown, I put on a show. Kick it and go. I had to kick off and go. Kick it and go. I had to kick off and go. Spit on, spin move, in zone, go.
Let's go. Eagles on 3, 1, 2, 3. There you go.
All right, what is going on, Eagles Nation? Welcome back to the channel. I am Pablo Gary, your #1 Eagles fan from Maryland. And in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at Cameron Heyward. Cameron Heyward is a 2023 Walter Payton Man of the Year recipient. His name has most recently been circulating around Philadelphia. You know, a lot of people are talking about this. I think there was an article that went out that suggested the Philadelphia Eagles could trade, I think it was a second round pick for him, like a future 2025 second round pick for Cameron. I wanted to give him a really good look right before I kind of just said, like I'm kind of good on this deal. So I'll look at the player, but I think ultimately for me, I think this is something that is going to be a hard pass. I love the fact that, you know, he won Walter Payton Man of the Year. His father played in the NFL. He was a well-respected man himself. He was a fullback during his time, and, you know, he was a baller too. You know, I like his story. I love his journey, but I just think in Philadelphia, we're kind of past that already. I think we're past the season of, hey, let's get a guy in here that can mentor our younger guys like Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, and Milton Williams, right? I think it's time to sort of take the leash off those dogs, quite literally, and let those guys go to work. You can't wait till those guys get 27, 28 to start letting them, you know, sort of develop into those leadership roles. I said this in a previous video, but I really think Jalen Carter, his second year, can really grow into a leader. Right? Who saw that coming? Like, I get it. I get the connectors, and it makes sense from a developmental piece or perspective, I should say. But I just think Jordan Davis has been under Fletcher Cox for 2 years. Like, he's been under his mentorship for 2 years. Jalen Carter got a year under Cox's mentorship, along with BG and all of those guys, right? And I don't think that, you know, although Fletcher Cox is retired, I don't think, you know, if it was something on the field that Jalen Carter was struggling with, I don't think, you know, he couldn't call, you know, Fletcher Cox. Those guys are super close, man. And I know Cox would do anything to continue to pour into those young players. And I think sometimes, like, we get this idea that, like, a player retired and he's blocked all of his teammates' numbers. He's just riding off into the sunset. Nobody can sort of reach him or get a hold of him. And I think that's quite the opposite. Like, you think about Jason Kelsey, like, he retired, and Lane Johnson's like, yo, he's in the gym, in the locker room, in the coach's office more than anybody I've ever seen, right? So some players, right, they retire, but, you know, for them, it's hard just to retire and just forget about football. Like, this has been who they've been for 20 plus years, maybe even their whole life. Right, so it's a hard no on Cameron, especially if you're, you know, you want a second round pick. The only way that I would do this deal, or this trade, I should say, is, let's say we get to the trade deadline, right? Get to the trade deadline. If I'm Howie Roseman, there has to be some kind of assessment at the trade deadline, especially with the general manager. Like, you want to know, like, hey, do I need to go get a guy? Like, if I'm Howie and I go to Jordan and I go to Coach Clint and I say, hey, do you think these guys can, you know, be all that we need, you know, while we're trying to make this push in the playoffs? Like, and I'm leaning on Coach Clint and also getting feedback from the players. Like, let me know, how does your body feel, right? And if those guys say, hey, man, I think we may need a rotating piece, I think we need a veteran in here, right? Then that's something that I would probably do if I was Howie Roseman. But I wouldn't jump the gun, you know, coming into training camp. Training camp starts tomorrow, right? These guys have worked hard all off season. They talked about how it's time for them to now step up. Now the Fletcher Cox and veteran guys like that have retired. So these guys are coming into the season thinking that they are the guys that have to set the tone, right? So you don't want to sort of miscommunicate with your young guys and try to add another veteran piece, because now it's like, okay, do you think we could do this or don't you, right? So you got to send a very clear-cut message to Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter saying, hey, this is your position group. I need you guys to step up and take over. But, you know, I think the mentorship days are done. You know what I mean? It's like, to do it all over again with Cameron Heyward. And like I said, great player. We'll get into his video here. Great player, great dude, but I think it sends the wrong message to our young players right now. So let's get into Cameron Heyward's tape. Crazy tape, and it's crazy because the Eagles are the first team he made a play on this video.
Cam Heyward make it again this year?
Yeah, you a big Cam Heyward guy?
Am I a big Cam Heyward guy? An animal. Talk about ageless wonder.
Cameron Heyward has made more appearances on the top 100 than any other Steelers defender ever.
That's kind of crazy when you think about that, because the Steelers have had Troy Polamalu, right? James Harrison, Joey Porter. Like, their defense was stacked, man. And so for him to lead in that category is kind of crazy.
You need a play, you get Captain Cam on the hunt.
He means everything to this defense. He's the voice.
Just don't take it for granted, man. We get to be the Pittsburgh Steelers today. We get to be there. Let's make sure we play like it today.
He's the mentor.
You got through. Finish that, baby. Finish that. Everybody's got to be accountable for this. If you out there, make sure you make your plays.
He's the strength of the defense. Everywhere he's at, he's making impact plays.
You see 97 Heyward right there. I mean, he's been one of the great interior defensive linemen for a long time.
In my opinion, he's the goon of the defense.
Oh, dog. Appreciate you, man. You're a real damn leader, man. You're a hell of a dude.
Yeah, I mean, I can see it. Like I said, I can see why, you know, a crazy leader. When you have the respect of Mike Tomlin, man, that says a lot. Yeah, but I think the Eagles are good. I think we're good. The only way this makes sense is if the price is right and the timing is perfect. Like, if we get banged up in that DT room, yeah, I'll make a call. So I'm glad that we're kind of like sort of, you know, teetering the line of what we should do with Cameron, because he is a player come playoff time. If you could get him for a reasonable deal, it's very smart, right? Because he's a plug and play. He's not a, hey, let's see what we have type of player. You know what you have, right? You need mentors, you need leaders, you need that veteran experience, especially when you're trying to make a push to, you know, where the Eagles are trying to go. So, yeah, I think this was a great watch. I think Cameron Heyward is a name that we should keep in mind. We should, sort of jot down, because I think he could help us. I got to see what our young talent can do. I want to see what our young guys can do. I want to see Jalen Carter out there for a full game, 4 quarters. Jordan Davis, 4 quarters, full game. Milton Williams. And like I said, man, I did a video about Gabe Hall, man. I'm really big on Gabe Hall. I think he could really give the Eagles some good playing time. And, we'll see. But that's all I have for you guys today. As always, I am Pablo Gary. This is Think Eagles. And hopefully made you guys think today. Fly, Eagles, fly. Peace.